me. My name is Sam Baker. I graduated from BU in 2017. Ooh, it seemed like a long time. I studied history at the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm currently in Augusta, Maine, but I'm originally from Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. So, what does a typical day look like where you're working now?
That's a great question, and I did jot down a few notes in advance to help with this one, especially because it's been a crazy week already. So my official position is that I am a committee clerk, and a typical day looks like this. I start my day by collecting and filing any new bills that were brought before the legislature. I check my email and I quickly scan it to see if there's any incoming testimony from the public, and then I quickly sort that into appropriate folders online. Next, I usually prepare the committee documents I need to have ready for either the day or the following day, and that includes a daily attendance sheet, committee report that I use. It's a tool to track the bills and the progress we're making on those, and then also the daily vote sheets where I call the vote and then I record each member's response whenever the committee is in session. Another thing that I have to do is now that we're all virtual, all of the sessions and all the hearings, everything is run virtually. So I'm responsible for setting up Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. And then I need to make sure that I'm distributing those links to the appropriate people, members, people from the public that are giving testimony, lobbyists, et cetera, et cetera. After that, if it is a day when the committee's in session, then I need to host those Zoom meetings and webinars, and that can take up the bulk of my day on days when members are in session. Today is a day when they're not in session, which is why I requested this time slot that worked out perfectly. And we've had orientations, we've had public hearings, we've had work sessions, and that's usually a 5 to 6 hour long Zoom session, and those all get publicly live streamed on YouTube. So I'm responsible for making that connection as well. And then lastly, I have to electronically file the testimony that was presented to the committee, and people can present that ahead of time. They can submit it online or send it to me directly, or sometimes afterwards, that testimony gets sent my way.
Awesome. Sounds like a very dynamic workday.
Very busy. Multitasking is key.
Yeah. So, if you like to work in public service or in government, what's an entry level position that a student or graduate could obtain within this field?
That's a great question. What I'm doing right now is considered it's somewhat entry level to mid level. The secretarial and the clerical stuff can get more that like mid level, based on my understanding. I'm brand new. This is only my third week in the job, so I'm still learning a lot every day. I recently transitioned from campaign work, and an entry level position there would be what we call field organizing. So I saw that there was a lot that I could do to transfer my skills from being a field organizer for 14 months to becoming a clerk here now at the state level and actually working in the legislature in the capital of Maine.
Awesome. So, did your major that did it end up having like really high relevance in like your current position now? And was it always your intention to work where you're working now?
Yes, yes, I studied history. And one of the things that I liked studying history at BU was that there was a lot of flexibility in the courses that you could choose. So I gravitated towards more like political history. I almost wish that like political history was a major that was offered, because I sought out those courses. So I sought out courses that had to do with the American presidency, that had to do with reading a lot of political speeches, studying campaigns. And so I feel like that I've always had that mentality and I've always had that curiosity and that learning approach in that particular field. So I've known for almost my whole life that I wanted to do public service. Right after I graduated from BU, I joined the United States Peace Corps and I spent 2 years overseas in Cambodia. And that was the first thing I did out of school. Then, when I returned, I spent a few months as a civil servant in the state of Pennsylvania, um, issuing birth certificates. And then shortly after that, I only did that for about 4 or 5 months just for the summer. the campaign stuff was starting to heat up. So I actually joined the campaign trail, started working for the Pete Buttigieg campaign in New Hampshire. Once he dropped out and then the field started to narrow, I moved back to my home state of Pennsylvania, started working for the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. And then once Joe Biden locked up the nomination, began working for him. And that's what I did until November 3rd, 2020. And just moved up here just a few weeks ago to take on this job. So
Awesome. Awesome. So since you've moved to Maine and you started this new endeavor, and also you can talk about like your campaign work as well. Like how has COVID-19 impacted your ability to work overall?
has impacted everything. So first on the campaign trail, we were no longer knocking on doors. You literally could not just show up at somebody's door and try to canvass them and persuade them to vote for your candidate or listen to what matters to them and what they wanted to see done differently in their community. Those were all things that we had done pre-COVID that we could no longer do during COVID anymore. So we shifted to an entirely virtual campaign. We set up one of the, if not the largest, one of the largest phone banking programs in United States history. We made 44 million phone calls into Pennsylvania and ended up flipping that state. It went red in 2016 and we were able to flip it blue in 2020. It was considered one of the biggest states by both campaigns. And then here in the legislature, again, you can see me. I'm here in the office. I'm the only person in the committee room. Normally, we wouldn't be able to do this meeting right now because it would be buzzing with a bunch of activity. There'd be members everywhere. There'd be lobbyists. There'd be people from the public trying to testify. I'm usually the only one in here. And I sit here, I have my face mask. We had modifications done to the HVAC system and HEPA filters installed so that we can try to purify the air. Everything that the legislature done now is streamed and it's conducted over Zoom. So that is all different. Even the way that we are filing away bills and processing testimony, it's all being done electronically and virtually for the first time. So it has really altered how we work. But the interesting thing is, though, for clerks at least, we are not able to work from home. We're one of the few employees here in the Capitol that it's considered we have to be set up here at our workstations with our desktops and with our phones and with some of the other resources that we need to do in order to conduct this job well.
Interesting. So while you were at BU, were there any like resources or internships that you utilized or participated that you think like definitely bettered your experience or had like a great impact towards your career trajectory?
Yes, BU offered a lot. So I did make a short list. I apologize to anybody who may end up watching this if I forgot something. But yeah, gosh, it was so long ago. Here are the few that I jotted down, and I thought these are really important. So one thing that I participated in was with the Howard Gottlieb Archival Center. They actually offer an internship. And I know that they look for students who are studying like history, library sciences, political science, something in that field. And that was fantastic because that was an experience that prepared me for filing bills and organizing public testimony, and just being organized in general is huge. That's really important for campaign work and for any kind of government work. So that definitely helped me prepare for this. Another program that I participated in was the BU Washington, D.C. program. So I actually interned on Capitol Hill in the United States House of Representatives for Congressman Ruben Gallego. And I did that during the fall of 2016. And that really prepared me for government work. It prepared me for how to build relationships and network with people, professional and personal. It helped prepare me for how to conduct myself before like members and elected representatives. And it also set the standard for like the pace that I could expect when a legislature is in session and when they're meeting, and how you have to constantly jump between different tasks and decide what takes the most priority at any given moment. So that was a fantastic program. I really enjoyed that one. Another thing that I did, this one, I don't know how relevant it is, but it was really relevant for me as a history major. I actually got my reader's card at the JFK Presidential Library. And as a student, you can get a free reader's card and you can conduct your own research there, as long as it's for like a paper or a project that you're working on. So I actually wrote my senior paper on Bobby Kennedy, and I got my reader's card, and I went there for a couple weeks during that semester. And I did original research. I got to look at Bobby Kennedy's speeches, drafted memos, some letters. It was really cool. I mean, that stuff is just there. It's available for the public to use. So I would definitely recommend that to students that might be interested in topics related to that. Another organization I was involved with was the Undergraduate Historians Association, and that was fantastic. It was just nice to be with people that were in your field, and you had to write a paper and then also present it as if you were at a history conference. So that prepared me for, thinking about how to use language, and also just not like, okay, is what you're writing, does it sound good too, or sound well whenever it's spoken? And helped me build up some of my public speaking and social skills. And then lastly, I also participated in the BU London History Program. So I went like two off-campus programs, one in DC, one in London. And again, just if you're in that field, you can't miss an opportunity like that. You get access to the London Library, where again, you're getting to work with archival material, primary source material. You get to write a paper of your own original research, and you get to learn from British educators, it's really cool learning history then from the other side of the Atlantic too.
Awesome. So if you could speak to a student right now who's aspiring to be in like a similar career position or career path as where you are right now, what advice or tips would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about this one for a while. It's not an easy question. I was trying to think, well, like, well, what do I wish I would have heard, when I was that age or in those shoes? Um, just basically, what you want to learn, what you love to learn. I had a lot of pressure to study something. All right, so full disclosure, I came into BU as an environmental science major because that was like it was more money, or it was gonna be that. You have to listen to yourself and know what you really want to study. And so I ended up switching to history. That's what I was passionate about. I courses,
Oh,
and
wait.
it wasn't meant for me.
Mm.
Oh, can you hear me?
It seems to be cutting out like very often. Let's see. Did it stabilize at all?
Oh,
Uh,
let's see.
we're okay. I'm getting yellow bars. Awesome. We're back. Okay, awesome. So yeah, you were saying
All right.
about listening to yourself and then it started cutting out. So if you could like repeat it again, greatly appreciated.
No problem. Yeah. No problem. So what are you most passionate about? Don't worry about, how much money you're gonna make, or, whether it's the quote unquote right. Oh, is it cutting out again?
Mm, it seems like it. Um,
Is it on my end or on your end? Can you tell?
it's okay. I think it's back because it goes. I'm checking my Wi-Fi. I think we're set here. So let's continue. Let's continue just in
Okay.
case.
I guess the internet just doesn't want me to give my advice, so that's all it
Oh
is.
my goodness.
So, all right, well, I'll cut that part. Piece of advice I had is find a good mentor who really cares about you, your future, and your potential. Um, he still teaches at BU, so I'm gonna shout out Professor Michael Holm, somebody who really cared about my education and invested in me as a person. And it wasn't just about the academics. It was about like your future. And like, I could talk about public service, and I could talk about, working on campaigns or working for the government, or maybe running for office. I could talk freely, openly about all those sorts of things. And he really supported me and encouraged me. So, find those good mentors, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's at an internship. You'll know who really cares about you, and actions, and for their office hours, or, uh, emails, like they are so happy to believe you, and you really need that. I was a first generation college student, had no idea what I was doing. I grew up on a 13-acre and moved to Boston, like huge culture shock. Like, I mean, it was just talk about going from a very small pond to a huge ocean, and feeling like, you were just insignificant. So finding somebody that knows can see how you see the worth that you have. I remember one of our first exams, Professor Holm, he wrote the comments at the end of Blue Books. That's back when we had Blue Book exams. And, he said, Samuel, looks like you've got game. Like, I want to hear you speak up more in class. Cause I was really quiet in class. I didn't speak up much. I was embarrassed. I thought I sounded funny. But he read my essays, read that first exam, and that totally changed. I started participating more. I started showing up at his office hours. And then we started having longer and deeper conversations about, what I wanted to do, why I was here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, if there's anything else you would like to speak about, like your BU experience, how do you think, if there's anything else you think that BU really helped you towards like getting where you are now, feel free to talk about that. But if there's not any other thing you would like to mention, that's basically our interview.
Awesome. I just have one other thing to say about BU. Just that's the time, really start like building your network and making friends, like really get to know your peers and expose yourself to different communities and different groups while you're at BU. It's something that I worked hard on, especially like the second half of so junior and senior year, but I wish that I had started earlier in freshman and sophomore year. Once I got over the shock of like being at this huge school in a big city, that was really unfamiliar to me. But those people then, they can end up being lifelong friends. They can end up giving you advice, just like your mentors will too. Opportunities that open up, especially like if you're thinking about getting involved in campaigns or being a public servant, a lot of those opportunities you find out about through your friends and your networks. It's not always something that you can just do a Google search or find on LinkedIn. Really, it's because somebody was like, oh, hey, I think Sam would be a great fit for that. I'm going to send him this job description and encourage him to apply. Or oh, hey, I see so and so applied for this. I'm going to let their manager know to look for the resume because I worked with Sam and I really enjoyed working with him and think that he could bring a lot to the team. So always just really see the value in all that too.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for like this advice. I think this would be very helpful for like not only like the history students or students in political science, but anyone else who's at BU currently looking at how your career has turned out and how your advice especially, I think they'll love. Like, especially if they're like not a history student, they'll love the advice because it applies to everybody. So thank you so much.
I hope so, yeah. And being flexible. I think if anything, this pandemic has taught us being adaptable, being flexible. I know the school experience, just like the work experience, is not how we expected it to be because of everything going on. But like, hey, when you go to apply for that first job and you're working on that cover letter or you're having that interview, talk about you were adaptable and you were resilient during this time. Talk about things that you your community or people that you checked in on or looked out for while all this was going on. It's really going to speak a lot to your character and who you are and what you value. So I know as you can tell, I'm always the optimist. So I'm trying to look for the bright side of things. And I think especially, people that are going through school right now, that's a real opportunity for them to showcase who they really are.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think that concludes our interview. Thank you so much for your time. And even though the internet was being finicky, we got through it and we got a good interview. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Lucia. And if you need anything else as a follow-up, just email me or anything and I'll make sure I get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Lucia. Bye.
All right. Take care.